to the cloud to make sure it's actually recording. Gotcha. Okay, well, welcome everybody. It is Tuesday night for the SuperEZ kind of trade room, I guess we'd say. We're just kind of looking over some things. I know that a lot of people were still trying to buy Euro odd earlier, but it was still going up, as we can see. But what I wanted to talk about tonight was something that I've got a lot of questions on in terms of in the group. I don't like how this pair is setting up, so let's pick a different one. GBP CAD. There we go. There we go. Wait for it to load. This is the same as a SuperEZ system. We've got our triple arrows, 4-hour support, and then daily support. ADX, this is my RSI kind of mixed with my currency strength indicator and my stochastic. Now we all know kind of what we're looking at in terms of charts, and this is just something I desperately wanted to talk about. Guys, if price broke a previous low, like what we see right here, we are not looking for buys. So like on Euro odd, for example, we were not looking for buys. Euro odd is going down. It's going to continue to go down. It might have some pullbacks. But for right now, we're only looking for sells because price is literally making lower lows. So you guys can see on my chart, this was the dots. These were the dots. And people were looking to buy all the GBP pairs. But as we can see, it's still making lower lows. No matter how we look at it, no matter how many arrows we have right here, at the end of the day, we still want to trade with the trend. And this is going to blow a lot of people's accounts because I'm sure there could have been a big arrow here. In fact, I know there was. But the thing is, had you got a perfect entry and kind of had great management, sure, you would have got out with profit. As long as soon as you're in profit, you put your stop loss in a profit. But in general, like we want to wait until we have a confirmed move. And when I say confirmed, like we want volume, we want power, we want money coming into the marketplace. We want candles like this to the upside. So when we see a break of structure, which we see right here, we went lower than the support. So what does that tell us? It tells us that this is going down. So even when this happened, people are thinking, oh no, it's making a double bottom. I gotta look for a buy because it's making a W or an M. No, because very directly, this made a lower low. That's what this is right here. Does that make sense to you guys? Let's see. Let me check the chat. I have it on my VPS today. Hey, Austin. Can you guys hear me okay? Let's see. Does anybody have any questions about that at all? Anybody? One second here. I'm going to put this on mute. Okay, gotcha. Here I am. I'm back. I'm sorry. I could hear my kiddos out there. They're trying to pack up one of the last bedrooms. So I wanted to go over that with you guys tonight. Does anybody have any questions in terms of this right here? Because in some of my private coaching, this has kind of come up quite a bit. When price breaks this structure, we are only looking for sells. We are not looking for a buy. No matter what indicators are telling us it's okay, we are not doing that ever. Does anybody have any questions about that at all? Let's see.
I have a question.
Hey, Caroline, how's it going? So are there any charts you guys want to look at or pairs for starters? GBP just made a new lower low, so it's definitely it's breaking structure. I just got an alert. AJ, let's take a look. Okay. What time frame? Caroline, can you speak? Can you unmute yourself and then talk? Are you there? Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, in terms of AJ, like, I don't know what time frame and what strategy are you looking at? $15-minute. Okay, are you looking for a buy or a sell? Well, I like how it just made a lower low. I mean, in general, this isn't like the perfect entry, because the perfect entry would have been, you know, back where the triple arrows were. But yeah, this just broke structure. So again, imagine a little imaginary line right here. It broke that with momentum. It broke it with pressure. And that's what we want to see. So when we zoom in, I mean, if I had to take a look at this, let's see. I would go to the higher time frame. What strategy are you using, like the now and later, or are you just kind of going only off the 15?
Yes, an hour later.
Let me see the chat.
Can you hear me?
Well, either way, on the 1 hour, you have triple arrows, an 8 and 18 crossover. We're kind of bouncing at the 50 right now, but I do like how it broke this previous support line. As you can see, I drew that line on the 15-minute chart because you can tell where previous support was, and those dots appear where pretty much previous support or resistance are. And if you guys know anything about trading, like in general, with or without indicators, these dots, that's all they are, is support and resistance. So again, I drew that on the 15-minute chart without being able to see those dots. So I'll go back to the 15-minute chart. This looks like a good sell. I think I'd take it for at least 30 pips once it breaks that 50. So I drew it based off of this. You can kind of just, you can even wing it, and support, resistance, and trend lines is super easy. Very, very easy. Oh, I can't hear you guys. Maybe that's it. So I was like, why is it so quiet? It's so awkward. Hold on, let me minimize this and see if my computer is muted and not my VPS. There you guys go. Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine.
Oh, see, now there you are. Oh, I was wondering, I was like, this is so weird. I'm so sorry. I probably sound like a complete retard. It felt different. Like, what is going on here? Hey, okay, Caroline, but does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You are welcome. Let me see if I can't make this big again for my VPS. Now that I had to, Sorry, I'm a little unorthodox, guys. Everything's kind of been crazy. But in terms of this trade, so we're making lower lows. And if I go to the higher time frame, trading is like super simple if we keep it simple. So right now, we're going down. So this was an uptrend. And I think I had charted this a little while ago. So you can kind of see from here, just keep going up. To draw a trend line, all you need is 2 touches. So 1, 2, run it through. So this is kind of like 1 touch, 2 touch, run it through. Price broke that trend line with momentum, not just kind of tickled it. Came back, retested a little bit, and now it's going down. And this is on the 1 hour chart. So, I mean, in general, do I think that you could take this as a sell? Absolutely, I would. I mean, for a minimum of 30 pips, always move your stop into profit, because you can see that we definitely have a pullback coming just based off of the stochastic if you guys use that. But your JPY is much stronger than your Australian dollar. You have a lot of momentum and power in your ADX. We have daily support and 4 hour support, triple arrows, 8 and 18 cross, broke the 50. Like, we have plenty enough confirmations according to my chart to take this as a trade. I want to be sure, but let me find out. Sorry about that. Was there anybody else who said they had questions that evidently I could not hear while I'm doing this? So again, same thing on the 4 hour. You guys can see that it was going up and it broke. Okay, kind of stalled out a little bit. And now whether or not we can kind of break this with momentum and kind of go down, yeah. But even if we're just going to the average daily low, that's 30 pips. If we're going to previous kind of support and resistance, you've got 30, 50, 80 pips out of it coming. But when everything lines up like this on the 4 hour nicely, again, everything's lining up on the 4 hour too, and the 1 hour, this is your ideal trade. Only thing that you'd have to worry about is news tomorrow night. This is a good trade. You guys should totally take this trade. Let's see. Are there any questions, comments, charts you guys want to look at? And now you can't hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm just catching up on these comments. It says I could hear Caroline, but I don't think Jenny can hear. Jenny, you have muted. That's muted in this trade. Is this a trade we can take now? Yeah, Toya, yeah, this is a trade I would take. I mean, we might see a pullback. I'd want to see a little bit of a bigger break on the 50, but it broke nicely on the 1 hour. So guys, just take a look at this trade. So this is one trade. We have a cross of the 8 and 18. This is on the 4 hour. Anything that happens on the 4 hour is worth a lot more than the 1 hour or anything lower, obviously, because the smaller time frames follow the larger time frames. So you have triple arrows, 4 hour and daily support. You got a crossover of the 8 and 18. We are breaking the 50, not as much as I'd like, but we are breaking it. Crossover the ADX, JPY is stronger, Australian dollar is weaker. This is kind of going below the 50. I'd want to see a bit more. And of course, the RSI is below the 50. Crossover the stochastic, and it's now coming out of that whole, overbought, oversold zone. So in general, plus we broke the trend line. So we broke our uptrend. So yeah, that's a trade we can take now. Right now. There we go. Stanley, can you hear me now? I wonder, because they sent me private messages. All right, are there any other charts or pairs you guys want to look at? Let's see. I just got another alert on GBP CAD. Let's see. Any at all? Any pairs, questions, comments, anything at all? I'm totally up here for you guys. JPEG. NZDCHF, is that what you meant? There we go.
Did you go to NCD USD yet?
No, sir. That was looking like a buy, but it has to break that 50 for me to consider it. Otherwise, it's just consolidating. At least it was a while ago. It was buying. Okay, so what do you see when you look at this pair? For the person who asked about this pair, what time frame? JP, can you talk?
Oh, I was muted. Well, I was looking at the 4 hour on NZD CHF, and I'm looking at a sell for that.
Okay, what confirmations do you have to take this trade that you see?
Well, I'm kind of being patient. I haven't taken it yet. I see the 2 arrows right now on the 4 hour. A little bit of structure. It looked like probably either like a M or almost a head and shoulders. Kind of.
On the 4 hour?
Yeah.
I don't see a head and shoulders. Is it like, I'm on the 4 hour, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so.
Almost like a double top. Or
Okay.
kind of.
I don't see that. Does anybody else see that?
Well, I could be wrong.
No, it's okay. Like, all of our eyes see stuff differently, so that's totally okay. But here's what I can tell you. CHF is stronger and is going above the 50. I see that NZD is getting weaker. In general, RSI is going below the 50. I want to see a clearer crossover, like if you're using stochastic or depending on which indicators you're using.
Mm-hmm.
I see a clean crossover on the ADX, and of course momentum pacing up. This is looking to break the 20. And again, this is happening on the 4 hour chart. So the 4 hour chart is more powerful than, I mean, bar none, than anything you can do on the lower time frames. Of course, this is all saying sell, which I like it. There's no major news events coming out for this pair. But on this one, on the 1 hour chart, so we have our triple arrows, 4 hour plus daily, and kind of tickled with the crossover a little bit. And we had all these wicks, which I'm not too fond of, but now we broke the 50 with momentum. And what was I just saying about making lower lows? It broke this previous structure. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So yes, this wick was not super appealing or attractive, and this wick either, but now we've officially broken below that. So I like this trade. On every one of my indicators is saying this is a safe trade to enter. Like
So,
I would only enter it for maybe half the ADR. I'm sorry?
would you enter now or wait for a pullback?
This probably was your pullback with all these wicks and stuff, so we kind of, I don't like the fake out kind of gap it did there, but it did close the gap. And the odds are that is your pullback. It could come back up. So you can kind of wait until, let's see, this is 7 o'clock. So this is the beginning of a new 4 hour candle. So you can wait till this candle closes in 43 minutes and make sure your next candle is also a bearish candle. If you want the safest possible move, you can do that. Because think of like support and resistance as a zone, right?
Right.
If you could imagine, how long have you been trading?
I've been trading for about a year.
So I'm sure you've seen like these boxes, like people draw this zone in. So yeah, it kind of broke here, but then here we have another one that's coming up real close.
Right.
If this is like a zone, we would want to see it break this zone, which is only a couple pips, but this is a slow mover. I mean, and it's wicking back up so we can see. I mean, but you can, that's up to you. It depends on what indicators you have on your chart. I liked odd JPY better than this one. But this one does look like a good trade.
Okay.
In general, it does. Because, again, sticking with just the most basic things you guys can possibly think of. Let's see. We were in a very clear what? This was going up. And we officially broke that trend. We even retested exactly on the trend line. So there's a very good chance this is going down. How many confirmations you want to use before you get in depends on your level of experience and your level of comfort and risk appetite. But yeah, this one just doesn't move. It doesn't move a whole bunch. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You are welcome. It's got enough confirmations for me. So, if somebody wants to look at NZD USD for a Stairmaster, I was looking at this earlier. I think for like a 10 pip thing. Let's take a look. For the person who wants to look at this pair, can you speak? Let's see. Camry? I said your name right? Are you there? Peekaboo. Okay, well, he's not there right now. US has a ton of news this week, like a ton. So if you're trading US pairs, it should only be for a handful of pips, unless your trade management is like super on point. But yes, this would, for a Stairmaster, if you have a pen and paper, what I would be looking for is here's your original triple arrows, 8 and 18 cross, momentum candle, cross, RSI crossed, original stochastic cross. So this would be your entry. For a Stairmaster, you'd want 2 dots. Right now you have 1. Because this dot could technically disappear. So your next candle will happen in like 3 hours and, 3 hours and 40 minutes, our screen tells us. So you want this dot to stay there and not disappear. So like I would be looking for the next one. Now, if this was already below the 50, I wouldn't be so concerned because I would be going with the trend. So if this was in the direction of the trend, I'd be okay with that. But for now, for the safest entry, you'd wait 3 hours and 40 minutes to make sure that that next dot comes in, and then that makes this dot stable. And then we know for sure, again, everything must line up, but then you would take that. But for right now, we're still technically above the 50. Sticking with very simple, just trading. I mean, that wick is super ugly, really ugly if we're going to follow it. I wouldn't follow it if it was just me and I wasn't on the live call, so I'm going to do what I would normally do. We broke that, but it's still kind of playing around. So this could still just be a pullback. We don't know yet. I don't like how these candles are going up and how there's already resistance right here. That's too close for my comfort. I mean, could you get your pips out of it depending on how many pips you're going for? Yeah, there's a really good chance. Worst case, 20 pips. But either way, there's already new buyers resistance or support, I guess. So we don't want to be trying to sell against it until we have confirmation. And right now we're just shy of that. We're shy of that on a lot of different things. At least right here. Back here, we were lined up for the sell. But right here, we're indecisive. We're not sure what we see yet. Jemiah, this is from the marketplace. And you literally type in currency relative strength. And a friend of mine and I have tested a whole bunch of these. And this is by far one of the better ones. We like the way it moves. When we put the 10 RSI on there, it usually matches the base currency pretty accurately. And it's kind of really interesting. So I like it in general. So when I first started testing my 4 months of like information on the triple arrow system, I had a certain level of accuracy. A currency strength meter, such as currency heat wave, such as any of the websites, there's about 1 billion of them. That helped me avoid getting into trades that weren't ready. So I think that using that is an asset. Now you can pick which oscillators. You'll notice that more often than not, it lines up very well with the ADX. More often than not. This crossed over, NZD got stronger. K1 NZD was stronger, I suppose, huh? This is too choppy to show you. Oh, okay, I see it. So we have a crossover here, crossover here. Because again, my purple line is my RSI. We have a crossover here, crossover. This pink and white line kind of tickled each other, and we see that clearly on the ADX. So I like it. I think a currency strength meter, whichever one you prefer, whichever one your eyes see better, will help you from getting into trades that aren't ready. Because if the currency meter is still telling you that, hey, NZD is still way strong, we're not going to be looking to sell it. And that will really help you, I think. So, yes, sir. Next question, next chart. Let's see. It does look good for the down move. Well, right now, well, odd USD. Let's see. I don't trade a whole bunch of odd pairs. They just have a really low average daily range, but let's take a look. Again, guys, US has a ton of news this week, and we have a US holiday. So could you imagine that we have all this news, and we have the US holiday on Thursday, which this should be showing. So that's a no-no. And what is Friday? So I have one of those really weird rules that say I don't mess with a lot of USD pairs during non-farm payroll. Sorry, I can't talk. During the week of non-farm payroll, I don't play with a whole bunch of USD pairs because, I mean, price just, it does crazy things. Like, it does crazy things all week long. I mean, but if you're going off the 4 hour, it shouldn't be too bad. I mean, so for the person who wants me to look at odd USD, can you talk? Odd JPY is in profit if you took the signal. I love your name, Jaleesa. That's pretty, if I said that right. Okay, so T-Rock 1, can you talk? Are you there? Maybe. Okay, well, either way, we'll analyze this together using the 4 hour chart. As a Stairmaster, you have your triple arrows, crossover of your 8 and 18, so that's already 4 confirmations. 4 hour, daily, that's 5, 6. We broke the 50 with momentum, of course, came back up. And now we're kind of seeing where we're at, but we have these new dots, which again has a lot more space between this one than that other pair we looked at. Let's take a look how much space is in between here. Yeah. You could easily get your 30, 40 pips out of this. You have a crossover coming up, not quite there yet on your ADX. I don't like how this is kind of in the middle, but again, this is a USD super weak. So, I mean, I don't prefer these right here. It's just not my cup of tea. We can go down to the 1 hour. There's a good chance it's dropping, but by how much, we don't know. So we're breaking below the 50, which is good. We've got support. We have a crossover here. This is still going up. It hasn't really crossed over. I mean, it's an okay trade. I don't love it. Like but then again, I don't play with, you see all this news? This news is going to make this look so appealing and pretty, and it might even go in our favor for a while, but it could also do this and go boom. And that's just been my experience with USD pairs on non-farm payroll week. I try to avoid them. I don't play nice. And when I stopped messing with USD pairs on this week, I stopped having so many losses on this week. Because some people like legit don't trade at all on the same week as non-farm payroll. And when you add that to the 4th of July, you're just asking for drama. Plus all this red folder news. I mean, that's a lot of red folder news. So I'd really be wary of the USD pairs unless you really are managing well. So if you were to take this trade, you would want to wait until it breaks this level. Okay, you would want it to make it lower low. So we want confirmation that this is going down. We've got enough lining up right now. I mean, not perfect, but enough, right? Because we have triple arrows on the 1 hour and the 4 hour. 4 hour and daily dots crossover. We'd want our 8 and 18 to kind of cross back over. So we have about half as many confirmations on the 1 hour chart. But if you were to take this trade, wait till it actually breaks this previous low here. And again, whenever you're in profit, I don't care if you're only up by 10 pips, move your stop loss up a few pips, because worst case, it comes back and it bites you and you closed out with a few pips and then it keeps dropping, you know, and then you miss the move. But you'd rather have that happen than have it turn around because of some crazy news or because the US market kind of, a lot of banks aren't even going to be open barely tomorrow, especially like in small towns. Like on Friday, we both know is not a very high business day because it's a holiday week, and we know how Americans are. They're taking, I know there's a few soldiers on this call, and I bet you if we ask them, they have off on Friday too, not just Thursday. Are there any active duty guys on this call right now? Anybody at all who can talk? Peekaboo. Austin, hey, can you talk or can you turn your microphone on? You have off on Friday, right?
Yep, I do.
Do you have off on Monday too?
No.
Oh, see, there you go. I bet you several bases around here, they're going to be off on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And that's just the government for you, just so you guys are aware of what our dollar is going to do. You add that to this amount of news and non-farm payroll, the whole week for non-farm payroll is too much U.S. drama for me. So I don't play with a lot of U.S. dollar pairs ever on non-farm payroll week. There's too many other opportunities for me to be risking my money for all this amount of drama. So, but for the person who asked about this pair, if you're going to take it safely because there's already a ton of news coming. Next chart question or comment? Let's see. You guys got to talk up so I'm not just up here talking to myself. Seriously. I'm so not as comfortable with that.
Hey, I have another question if no one else does. I'm
Please.
relatively new to triple arrow, well, I'm very new to triple arrow, only a couple days, and I've been watching all the videos. But my question is, when you get the big arrow, like right now I'm looking at your screen, you have the big white arrow on the top.
Yes, ma'am.
How far out do the other smaller arrows need to be? I can't.
You mean like the spacing? Like, so what if it's kind of choppy with something like, here, I'll go back in history. So this one's nice and tight. In general,
Right.
if you were to ask Pat, he would prefer them tighter rather than looser.
Okay.
Sometimes they do happen looser. That's just kind of the reality of trading. But so this is a little looser, not by a whole bunch. There's no steadfast rule on that. Again, you're looking for confluence. So I don't know what indicators you have on your chart, what oscillators. There's a lot of really good ones. It just depends on what your eyes see best. So these would be, 3 sets of confirmation. And then you have other support, that's another set. You have a crossover and a break of the 50. You have enough confirmations here to decide, okay, do I take this? Regardless of how far apart these arrows are. So even if these other 2 arrows didn't happen until over here,
Gotcha.
the question still remains, hey, did it break the 50? what does our ADX say, or our MACD, or Stochastic, or TDI, or whatever our eyes see best in terms of oscillators. And then we take it and we say, okay, we're confident with that. And now you're taking it to a safe level, either using Fibonacci's, Pat has went over that a multitude of times, or you're taking it for half of the average daily range. But either way, like you want the big picture. Triple arrows is not enough to go off of. You want the whole story to tell you that.
Okay.
So I don't think the closeness has to matter if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Good question for the last one. NFP is Friday. Do you guys know what that is? It's like one of the biggest news days of the month. Let's see. So Travis, NFP is Friday. Basically, the US dollar tends to do wonky stuff all week long. I wish I could predict if it always goes with the trend or always goes against the trend the week of NFP. And Lord knows I back tested and I've tried diligently to figure out what it is, but it's always the opposite of what I think it is, or it seems like. But either way, the US dollar just does weird stuff that whole kind of first month of the year, at least for me. So like if I were to be in a trade, like I would be holding it up until Monday or Tuesday if I had entered last week for a swing. But in general, like I'm not taking any new trades as of Monday, Tuesday on NFP week for any pairs that have US dollar in them because they're just too wonky. And it doesn't mean like a lot of them have won. There's been weeks where I've missed out on hundreds of pips. That's just my rule. And that rule works for me. So, but even without NFP, guys, you have 4th of July and half of our government's going to shut down. You have crude oil, which will affect CAD too. We have a lot of red folder news and the holiday and NFP. So to me, that's just like find something else to play with and don't play here because there's plenty of other stuff. So yes, I hope that answers your question. Is that for all currencies? I'll have to get a mic for my desktop. Okay. No, well, there are people who like, I don't know, it's their trading style, but they literally don't trade at all during NFP week because the market usually does some weird stuff that week. So when you understand the market psychology with Pat, which Pat, teaches us about, you'll kind of understand it better. I don't think that every pair is nearly as affected, but kind of a slow week in the summer. You're in a trade war with China. You have lower volume already because of summer. Now you've got 4th of July, so half of the U.S. government is shut down. Then you've got all this news. So any big event or big thing that does happen for the U.S. dollar will be, extremely volatile and not in a predictable way. It'll be a very unpredictable move. So for that reason, I don't try to predict moves, and that's kind of what we're doing, right? Is we're making a prediction. But I don't try to make any predictions for U.S. dollar on the week of non-farm payroll. So the other ones I think aren't too bad. Long-term trade for 3 to 5 months affect your margin percentage? Yes. Dorian, so can a long-term trade for up to 3 to 5 months affect your margin percentage? Absolutely. Like the cool thing is, like you can keep moving your stop loss and a profit, but most brokers, at least not according to my calculations, aren't going to give you credit for your margin percentage, or maybe let me say it more accurately. They only give you a very small amount of credit for, like, let's say you're up by $3,000 on a $1,000 account in profit, but it's an open trade. The broker only gives you a small percentage of marginal percentage available for that win until you actively close it. So yes, a long-term trade can affect your margin percent a lot. Yes, it can. And not for the better, because that's essentially eating up all your margin so you can't take new trades.
When you say close the trade, are you talking about closing it out altogether, or setting your take profits to portions of it?
Well, you can do something like Pat does, which is like trim profits. So if you entered with the standard, you can close a 0.5. You can close a 0.2, where you can kind of close some as you go. You can do one of my methods for swing trading, which was I would take the whole lot size I was going to use, and then I would literally have different take profits set. So I'd have some of them set at 22, 44, and 77.
Okay.
And then each one of those would close strategically, and then I would only have the one runner open. And the reason I did it that way is because taking one trade at a higher lot size, yes, it's easier to manage in theory, but it takes up all your margin. It doesn't grow in percentage the same. And your margin percentage is basically 1,000% gone. Like you're using up most of it on one trade. So that makes it harder to compound and grow. Does that make sense?
Kind of, because I'm thinking long term, and I don't know if can you use the 4477 for a long term trade? Like if I'm trading from triple arrow to triple arrow, let's pretend scenario wise that I decide that I'm going to utilize the monthly chart.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah.
Can we use something a little bit more reasonable? Like, okay, how much do you have in your account? If you don't mind saying it, is it more than a couple grand?
I haven't added yet. I was thinking 5 grand.
Okay. So here we are on the daily, okay?
Okay.
Low mover. I mean, the monthly is a bit extreme.
Okay.
Not to say you couldn't, and there are people who I'm sure have success with it. It's not my thing because I can't even make logical sense of doing it that way. Like I can understand using the daily because you can essentially check the chart every day around the time of market open, see which way it's going, go for a certain number of pips or just go with the trend. In this case, it's staying below the 50. You could trade it because this already is several months. So we had enough confirmations on our triple arrow system and all the way down to here. It looks good on the daily chart. So let's say we had not a great entry. This is on February 12th. You had a pullback of 150 pips, which is a lot, okay? And this is a slow mover. So on a GBP pair, this would have been a pullback of like 500 pips, just so you know. So either way, this is February 12th. So let's say we held on to this trade till October. This is, do you see what this is 6-7 months, right? That's 7 months already. So that's a long time. And then the amount of swap fees you're going to have and like tragic things in the market. I mean, do you really want to hold one trade for 7 months?
Would that be a bad thing?
I'm sure for some people, no. I mean, you'd have to have the choice broker in terms of swap fees. But for me, let's just say you have a $5,000 account. So what lot size are you going to be using when you take let's pretend like this is a perfect world. You saw this trade. I mean, it lined up for what you're looking for and you're content. Granted, we don't know if it's going to be this kind of triple arrow where it only goes for, you know, what is that, 490 pips, and it goes for a few weeks. We don't know the difference yet. We just know we're going to stay in it until we get another 3 arrows, not just one, right? So we don't know for sure, but let's pretend like we see this. It goes against us 150 pips. You have a $5,000 account, right? So what lot size are you going to put on this?
I'm not sure. If I were to use one standard, I would split for orders 0.25.
Oh, you would stack it, or you'd want to just do one trade and hold it for 7 months?
I would stack it, right, at 0.25 for orders. I would use my Fibonacci to plan out my take profits, and I would let the last one be a runner with the trailing stop.
Okay, well, that makes more sense. That's fine. But if you get, what I was trying to get at was if you got stuck in this trade for 850 pips, do you have a calculator out or on your phone? Here I go.
Pull up my phone.
So what's $50 times 800?
Hold on. $50 times 100. That is 40,000.
This is one $40,000 trade, but that's again a perfect world, right? So of that 40,000, try to realize that you had a swap fee every single day for 8 or 7 months. We'll just round down for 7 months. And some days swap fees are higher than others, right?
Yes.
So if you had a swap fee for every day, you might potentially see, give or take, 27,000 of that. And again, in a perfect world, that sounds really nice for one trade. But the thing is, you wouldn't be able, like, your next trade. So when it came to like March 3rd and you went to go find a new trade, you wouldn't be able to increase your lot size by a lot because you'd be stuck in this one trade. Like if you had went for a larger amount of a lot size and you just wanted to hold one trade that whole time, that's not to say that's not a good way to do it. There are people who do it that way. But again, you don't know if it's going to be this move where you got your triple arrows and you got your safe, couple hundred pips, which again looks great. That's actually perfect. That's a nice up move, no pullbacks, no nothing. Or if it's going to be this move where if you had the wrong lot size even on this one spot, you would have blown your account with the 250 pip stop. If you use 10 standards on a $5,000 account with 500 to 1 leverage, this one move will blow your account. You would get a margin call and then lose your actual money.
You said 10 standards?
Yeah, so 10 standards on a $5,000 account, 500 to 1 leverage. You're going to add the swap fees in here that are in the days that this happened, right? There's a good chance, could be wrong, definitely could be wrong, but this one move, this one pullback, could have blown your account with the wrong lot size. So
I don't think I would use 10 standards because just starting off, just one standard, but I would split it 0.25 with 4 orders. And then I would plan out my take profits by utilizing the Fibonacci, and the 4th order would be the runner. How long do you think would be a reasonable amount of time to hold a trade if you're trading long term?
there's no, I can't decide that, neither can you, because look, this is not my favorite pair, but let's go to the pair that just was so mean to me lately here. I'll show you.
Okay.
So we saw that this one went for 7 months. We don't know the difference, and we just don't know the difference. There's no like cooler way or more educated way to say that. So again, we're on the daily chart.
Okay.
See? So in general, and this is a more volatile pair, so the swing is going up and the swing is going down are big.
Yeah.
Right? These are big, big moves. This, let's measure it. I know it's not like a perfect, pretty thing to measure, but a couple thousand pips. So that's crazy. 6,000 pips, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's from July to July. This was literally an entire year. But you don't know that when you happen. So we don't know if it's going to be this time that this happens. Again, we have this little pullback and then this drop again. We don't know if it's going to be this that only went for a month or 2 months. So how long is a reasonable time? We don't know that. There's no way to know that. You just have to kind of create rules that say, hey, if I'm swing trading, I'm going to check the chart on these days at this time. And if these are my rules for exit and these are my rules for entry. If I see this, so like if you were buying right here and then you saw another daily dot, but you saw 2 arrows with it or something, you saw daily and 4 hours saying to sell, you're going to take your profit and get out because it's silly. This has been saying to buy. So let's say we got in somewhere around here. We're happy with our money. We've made good money. Oopsie. Let's use this as an example. And we took this trade. Let's say we took it right here when it broke the 50. We made 300 pips, and then we gave back 300 pips, pretty much. Actually, we gave back 380 pips. Then we're up by 600 pips. But we didn't move our stop loss up. We didn't close anything. We didn't have any exit rules. And now we're down by 500 pips. So that whole concept of only holding with no rules for exit or management is another good concept. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I would move I would check pretty much like what Pat does once per week and see where price is at, if it's moved past a Fibonacci level and established a new support or resistance, whichever way you're going, if you're buying or selling. And just, that's so I won't give back any money to the market. And but my goal is to hold. I don't know what chart I would trade because a month or 2 sounds reasonable. I mean, Pat, I believe, went over this with me during probably 2 weeks ago. He just said, let's say you had 1 standard lot, you're trading triple arrow to triple arrow, and you earn 3,000 pips for the month. And if it's obviously that's 10 pips or $10 per pip, so that's 3,000 times 10, that's 30,000 for the month. And I like that, it sounds reasonable. And I was just trying to figure out a way of, I guess, maximizing the amount of pips that I could capture by holding long term. And I never really, I'm glad you brought that up, the spreads. I forgot all about that.
You have to realize, so there's like a lot of like bigger details that a lot of newbies just, they don't understand. And that's not a, like to say it in the nicest, most loving, gentle way possible. So when we see this, we'll measure this move. This is enough confirmations for me. No, there's no big arrow, but we have daily dots, 4-hour dots, 2 arrows, crossed the 8 and 18, broke the 50, and now we broke previous support. So this right here, I would take this trade if I saw this trade.
Yes.
Okay, you can choose to stay in it, provided it stays on this side of the 8 moving average. So if you're selling it and it stays below this on the daily, you can decide that's my entry and my exit. And you're going to stick with that. That's a steadfast rule you use. So in this perfect scenario where there's no pullbacks and nothing happens, I mean, this is obviously perfect. But think about it like this. If you have your standard lot, this is May, and let's say you get out because you get new support dots.
Yes.
To June. And that's the whole move you're getting, because you can get back in on other pullbacks, okay? Like, let's say those are your entry and exit rules. So May to June, this took you approximately a month. This was 700 pips. So 700 pips times $10 is what?
7,000.
Okay. So of that 7,000, what you need to know is you'd probably end up keeping approximately 6, depending on what broker you're using.
The Coinex.
Coinex has really great swap fees in general, so that's good. Let's say you kept 5,500 of it. Maybe even 6,300, give or take, depending on about a billion other factors, or how many positions closed, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's not bad at all. You just made $7,000 in a month. But the thing is, you don't know if it's going to be this move or if it's going to be this little move. So you still have to check it. I mean, off the daily, that's good. Trading off the daily, it takes a lot of patience, but you can check the chart once a day. Drag and drop each pair. If it lines up, great. You don't have to worry about another candle coming in 14 minutes or 14 hours or 4 hours. You can do that, but you definitely need a few thousand. If you plan on growing it to any level of compounding, you definitely need a few thousand before you really getting super productive with the daily.
Yeah, because I was on the internet. You know, I'm always on the internet. I'm always learning, and I found an indicator. You know how the ADR paints a dotted white line to show the ADR for the day at the start. Well, this indicator paints the breakout, and I utilize the daily when I look at the daily dot. So what I learned is you really have to look for 1 to 5 dots, because the pairs are different. You know, this GBP pair, a breakout might occur, let's say on the second dot on the daily chart. Another pair, a breakout might occur on the 5th dot. So I like to go to the daily. I look for the dots. I put my vertical line. I drop down to the 4-hour, and all your confirmations are already going to be there on the 4-hour. And usually, I'm looking for the breakout. Basically, that's what I'm saying. The trend. I'm sorry, the trend. I don't care for the reversal. I don't care for the, I'm waiting for the pullback to occur. And after the pullback is usually where the trend takes place.
So, yeah, well, but what determines a higher high? Oh, sorry, what determines a trend to you?
A breakout of both the 8 and 18 and the 50.
So it's got to be below the 50 for a sell and above the 50 for a buy, right?
Yep. And then, like I said, all your other confirmations have already occurred between the trend and the reversal or the big arrow.
So pick a pair.
I'm not at my computer. A random pair, I guess. AUDCHF.
Okay. Gotcha. So let's take a look. I mean, every pair trends a little differently, as you know, and that's okay. So let's see. I mean, essentially, using the day chart, yeah, that's super, super easy. But the thing is, like we just were saying, we don't know if it's going to be this move that we catch. Okay, so, and this is still a move. This is still valid. It counts. It's a slow mover, so it's not a bunch of pips. It's 100 pips, give or take. less than 100 pips for sure. I mean, 70 is probably more a fair balance, but we don't know if the move we're catching is going to be this one for 70 pips or this one for 500 pips, you know, and this is a slow mover, so that's a lot of pips.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, having an exit strategy is super important when you're trading the daily chart, is having an exit strategy. Because even that whole concept of staying in until it goes on the other side of the 8, the problem with that is, well, on this slower mover, it's not such a problem on bigger movers, but this one went, we'll just say 70, let's round down. You would have given back more than half of that before it touched the 8 again.
Yeah.
So there's
I would
ways
trade.
to do it. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. I would trade dot to dot. I found a real good indicator that paints above or below the candles before the SuperEZ dot. So it's pretty good. It lets you know, I guess, when the SR dot's going to paint, I guess, or the SR dots just happen to paint after that little blue or whatever color you set it to paints on above, just like the the fractals, how the fractals are. That's how. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fractals are kind of tried and true. Let's see. Gotcha. The fractals are, so if it breaks below this, we're looking for a sell. If it breaks above the buy, we're looking for a buy. And it's super simple. So yeah, you could do it that way too. And this is always going to happen before the dots do.
Yeah.
Always. Always. So you can kind of pick whichever ones work for you, but if it works for you, great. Trading from daily dot to daily dot. I mean, this is technically an entry, but this is your better entry.
Yeah, I like the slower entry. I prefer.
But in terms of this particular move, which again, not every move is like that. This is the chart pair you chose, so we're looking at it. This big momentum candle would have been enough for me to say, okay, I trust this. Because this momentum candle was powerful. And then I'll be looking for this to line up, which of course everything didn't line up until here. This is the move I'd want to see. This really wide kind of spread on the CS, the currency strength. I'd want to see kind of that it kind of really stayed in that direction, broke the 50 and retested it. Yeah, I like how it broke the 50 and that fractal level and then kept going. And this whole time it really stayed, every candle that closed pretty much below the 8 until here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that works. But sometimes on certain choppy pairs, you're going to get a lot of daily dots. And then on other pairs, you're going to get less. It's just the nature of the market.
Do you know cause a certain currency pair to be choppy more than others?
I wish I had some super intelligent answer for you, but like I don't know. I think that every pair gets choppy at some point or another. I mean, so everyone says CHF is the tricky pair. I happen to like CHF. Some people say NZD is sneaky, but again, I kind of like NZD. So I don't really have any super pairs I don't really trade. I don't trade odd NZD ever because their currency strength. So when there's odd news, it affects the New Zealand. When there's New Zealand news, it affects the Australian. And there's not a big enough value difference between the two to justify this move. So like if you understood what we were doing, we're buying one pair and selling the other. Like if you understood what we're doing in terms of being a Forex retail trader. The reason I don't trade on NZD is because the value of them stay very close to the same. So the difference between them is small. And then of course, when news hits, it affects them both. And as you can see, like this isn't a good indicator to show you this, but usually when one's going up, they're kind of both going up. When one goes down, they're both kind of going down.
Okay.
This is the only pair I really don't like trading. I avoid red folder news. I never could master Euro GBP, primarily because this is the highest paying pair. So here, this one doesn't move very well. It just, to me, I spent 6 months. I decided that it was going to be my favorite pair because it's the highest paying pair. So I spent 6 months trying to master its trends and follow how it works. And when I say this, I'm going to say this honestly on a live call that unfortunately was recorded. But I was joking with my friend the other day and I said, look, I literally think I got worse, not better, trying to master this pair. Because this pair just doesn't follow the same rules I don't prefer the where it moves at all, and it moves very small amounts. So it doesn't move enough. It's just, it doesn't ever trend. So you see a few times where this happens, but this is rare and hard to predict. Everyone's trying to sell this for like, I don't know, months. And then it just stayed like for a year. Like this is probably when I was trying to learn this. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like this pair. So I
You
quit.
just reminded me of something too.
Mm.
I think it was my international finance class. No, it was derivatives. I think it was derivatives. We went over something called negative correlation. So I'm gonna have to go back in my notes. I think we might have went over which currency pairs tend to be negatively correlated to one another. So I'll see if I can find that to help me out. And I'm gonna, this currency relative strength indicator,
Mm-hmm.
you have to pay for that, right?
No, this one's free. So
Yeah.
most things, hold on, let me go to marketplace. I'll show you which one it is. So again, it's recorded. Most of, guys, I don't buy stuff from MT4 because there's no customer service. There's no one to talk to. There's no one to ask questions of. And like, the reality is for almost every indicator you buy, you can get a version that's pretty close for free. For the most part. And I've got some really cool ones. Obviously, I've been trading for a while, but they all tell a very similar story. Just find one that your eyes see and use it with the system. I promise you, you will be unusually successful with the right trade management, which is king, and rules. Sorry, this is totally wigging out. I usually put them to my favorites. It's this one right here.
Okay.
So you see how it's a blue box and it has colored letters.
Yes.
It is free. There's one in there that has a blue box and has white letters. I don't like that one. I have quite a few, but this one I don't like how you can't backtest it. I'm not going to fib. But I like the way it moves in general. I like, because when it goes above the 40 and the 60, you have a confirmed move. When this happens, well, this one is again correlated weird, but it's very confirmed. It's very accurate.
Okay. Hey, did you get the PDF I sent you for the TDI, just in case you're interested in learning that?
Oh, I did. Thank you. I've learned a lot about it, and I still see a lot of squiggle. It's great for overbought, oversold. I'm sure it'd be great on high time frames. But in general, for most of what I do, I'm going with the confirmed move. So most of the stuff that tells me, it tells me in the same way this tells me.
Yeah, I noticed it's just moving averages with the Bollinger Band.
Yep.
That's all it is.
All it is like one faster moving. So it's got the RSI faster, that gives you the peak. It gives you the 50 moving average, which we already have on our chart. And then it gives you like, it's going up with the Bollinger Bands or down. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing about Bollinger Bands is they show you a squeeze, which is consolidation, but your eyes should be able to see consolidation.
Yeah.
They should be able to see flat markets. So we don't trade flat markets. This is a flat market. We'd stay out of this because this is a zone that we haven't decided we want to break. We don't even look at this trade anywhere in here at all until we break this previous high. We break it, and we break it strong.
Yes.
Yes, sir. That's awesome.
Well, thank you, Jenny.
You are welcome. Okay, Travis, you had asked a question. Let me pull up the chat real quick. I think you had said you get paid. Some pairs you do get paid on a swap fee, but you have to know you get paid at swap fees on a buy that day or on a sell a different day. Like, so to know that stuff, I believe it was Catherine who was pointing this out on the chart. So you could go over here to your market watch. You can go to specifications. This will give you a guesstimate amount, but you still need to work with your broker to find out what it actually is. So for every standard lot, so 1.0 that you trade, you get a net, you pay $3 for a swap fee. And then if you're buying it, you only pay $1 if you're selling it that day. But on Wednesdays, it's 3 times that fee. That's why a lot of traders don't hold long-term trades over Wednesday. Hey, whoever's yawning, please mute your phone. Seriously. Hey, Sandra, yeah, I don't trade EG. I tried so hard to master that pair, and I realized I literally think I got worse, not better. And I'm saying that live on a call because that is how true it is. I just could not master that pair at all. It just wasn't trading at all. So let's see if it's an IRA, then you'd have to pay. So CAD CHF, let's take a look. CAD CHF. Are there any other pairs you guys want me to take a look at? Let's see. Who was asking about CAD CHF? Let's see. I'm on the 4-hour of CAD CHF. We've got triple arrows. Crossover. 1 second, let me shut this window. Okay, so I shut one of the windows at least. Who was asking about CAD CHF? Can you talk? It was Jaleesa? Okay, can you unmute your microphone, Jaleesa? Let's see. Okay, well, either way, this is what I see. We're on the 1-hour chart. I'm going to go to the 4-hour first to see what the 4-hour is doing. Wait for this to load. Okay. There we go. So we have a new 4-hour arrow. Nothing confirmed yet. Definitely could kind of push up a little bit more because it's not uncommon to come kind of tap this before it drops. But this looks, I mean, we're getting some seller power. We're definitely in an area where we could look at a turnaround. So that's not super confirmed yet. But let's see. We have triple arrows, daily support, crossover. We have yet to decide if this is going to break the 50. We definitely have momentum going up. I mean, CAD is weaker and CFS is stronger. I like that. RSI is definitely selling. We're breaking out of this kind of sell zone on the stochastic, so I like that. And because I happen to have the fractal still on here, you can kind of see that we're wicking off the 50. We're wicking off the 50, so it's kind of like a maybe baby thingy. So for me, I'd want it to break here before I took this trade. I want it to break these two lows, and I want it to break it powerfully before I would say, yes, I'm willing to sell this. Because right now it's just not quite enough. You're not confirmed on the 4-hour and the 1-hour. I mean, it looks okay, but if I want the safest move, this isn't it. We want confirmation. So we just entered a new candle right now, and this looks like it's definitely a green candle. We can't quite see it yet, but it's looking like it's pulling back anyways. Let's make it a little bigger. It is green. You can barely see it, but that's what I'd be looking for. I want it to break this 50 and break this low, because when it does both of those things, then we have a much more confirmed move. So if we kind of zoom out here, we'll keep that line there, that support line, and we'll draw a trend line from any of these areas. 2 touches. We're right now kind of deciding, we're in an area of decision, right? So this would be what we call the kill zone, is what one of the people I worked with used to call it. The kill zone. So what happens here really matters. But until it happens, we don't want to take this trade yet. Not yet. Because we're still not kind of at the point where we're breaking this with volume, with momentum, with power. We'd want to break this with power. Do you see how that all lines up? Again, super simple, guys. Find a few trades a day, or depending on what time frame you're trading, a week, and just take it for 50 pips, half the average daily range, and you've got a really solid trading plan. I'm glad that helped. Sandra, yeah, push the mic thingy. I'm not sure. Oh, I can unmute you. Hold on. Let me go to manage participants, see if you'll come up here. If I can find your name, I can unmute you. Here you are. Maybe not. It won't let me unmute you. So it might mean like you didn't sign in with your microphone, because I can't unmute you. No, ma'am. Okay, any other questions, comments, charts you guys want to look at? I've got my chat open. Anybody at all? Okay, well, while you guys are deciding that, I'm going to tell you one more thing. So depending on what your schedule's like, and if there's anybody on the call who's never spoken up yet and wants to speak up, I'll use you as an example. And I promise it will help your trading a whole bunch. So if there's anybody on the call who's new to trading, hasn't spoken up yet, and you want to speak up, now's a good time. Anybody at all? Okay, fine. Let's see who this is. The currency relative strength setting, I just went over that, and how to use it, and I went over that too, so maybe you can watch the recording. Would holding trades monthly and closing by the month be a bad idea? Yes. I mean, Travis, if you don't have a lot of money in there, you would be holding a trade that literally moves an insane amount of pips up and down in that month for literally no reason, when you could have got the 300 and got the 300 and got the 300 4 or 5 times had you been using like the daily chart, for example, if you're asking me. So trading off the monthly chart, like, not that it can't be done, but even one of the 7-8 figure traders, well, he's an 8-figure trader now, but he trades only off the daily. He uses a system very close to the flip-flop system, but he has Bollinger bands, super successful, insanely easy because he checks the charts every weekend. He sees what's setting up. He creates a watch list, and then he picks 2 or 3 trades a week, and he holds them, you know, up into the 50 moving average, and he has his own exit strategy. Works perfectly. But if you don't already have $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, well, even then, I don't even understand why you'd want to trade off the monthly, because it's just, there's no point in that. A lot happens in a month, so why would you give that all up? So, Devonta, yes, I just went over the currency strength indicator. I can do that again if you want to speak up. But the last thing I'll tell you guys before we jump off, if no one wants to look at a pair, is know the time of the candles, guys. So if you're in the mountain time zone, then you know that the candles happen at a certain time every day. So for me, it's 3 p.m., 7 p.m., and 11 p.m., 3 a.m., 7 a.m., and 11 a.m. And that's the time the 4-hour candles change. And knowing that will tell you when to go look at the chart for a new dot, for any Stairmaster or 4-hour moves. Knowing that, you can pick 2 of those times that you're available, you know, carve out 30 minutes and be super highly successful. I mean, it's insane how easy it is when you actually pay attention. And in terms of my actual trading, for the most part, I check my charts on the 1500 candle. This is when I check my chart. So I'd be looking for everything to line up, you know, based off of what strategy I'm using. And when you know that and you're going to backtest any of these pairs, let's go to a different one. And you can see I have those candles marked. I can see how many moves I'm catching at that time by knowing just, okay, this is the time I want to trade every day. This is the schedule I have available. I can basically plan my strategy, my entries, my exits, and I can literally create rules that are custom tailored to me, my schedule, news, and it literally eliminates like 90% of the guesswork by just having a schedule when you trade, or at least when you pick your trades or how you manage them. It makes a huge difference. So let's see. Austin just sent a big thingy. Take a look at NZD USD for the sell we just did, but I will do it again. So is ODD still showing a good strength? I'll take a look. Austin sent all those rules. So 1 is triple arrow, 2 at least 2 SR dots, 3 8 and 18 cross, 4 candle closed 50 EMA, high spread on CSR. Well, that would say 40 or 60. So you'd want it above the 40 or 60 in most cases. Crossover on the MACD, ADX crossover above. 20 above 20 is fine on the ADX, Austin. Higher highs or lower lows on SR's 9. Support and resistance. RSI crossover the 50 and SAR's going down. That sounds good. You can add break of a trend line or momentum candle. And those are literally all the confirmations I would consider at all. So that's all of them literally. See.
I thought he said AJ. Are you looking at AJ or AK right now?
I'm going to go to AJ. So
I'm sorry.
can you demonstrate? So Dorian, we never take trades that have less than a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. That is just bad money management. It's not good business, and you guys are in business for yourself. So when you're making a trade and you're taking a decision, you can have everything under the sun line up, but if your stop loss has to be too big to take this trade, then you need to skip this trade. So let's see, we broke below the SARS. Yeah, it's doing a pullback. I still think that this is going to go down. Like I said, at least 30 pips. You could definitely get 30 to 70 out of this, give or take. So that's my analysis. We are, you got to think it consolidated in this range. So imagine a box right here, from here to here to here to here. A nice big box. I know there's a way to do that, and then I forget every time. Insert, channels, tapes, here we go. So look at this big box we have. It's not letting me, there we go. It's not exactly on point, but it kind of, you get the idea. This whole area is consolidation, right? It's like, it's deciding what it wants to do. Whoopsie. Now I can play with it. So it stayed in this area for quite a while, right? It won't let me draw it accurately, but to the bottom of these fractals. And we finally broke below that. So to get enough pips out of this, yeah, I definitely think it's going down. This could be even a miniature head and shoulders. So I'm gonna delete all selected. So left shoulder, head, right shoulder. We now have broke the neckline. So this looks like it's going down. I'm confident that this will. So, and again, there's no guarantees. Definitely have some play in the marketplace. And like I said, there's room for a pullback even on the stochastic. But I like this for a sell. So, and then who was asked? Oh, Dorian, about the stop losses. So like, let's say you wanted to take this trade for a sell, and this had an ugly gap, of course. Your stop loss would have to be really high for a slow moving pair. So you're in this one, there's no really better spot to put it because you'd have to put it above a previous high. You can always pop fractals on your chart and put it above that for right here. Like if you had taken it here, which would give you a slightly tighter stop loss. Or I'm going to delete this. Using these, like using the Stairmaster, it's the best way you can possibly do it because you're always going with the trend. Your 4-hour triple arrows are saying buy. If you take this trade and you put your stop loss just below these dots, no, it doesn't give you a lot of room. But here's the reality. If it breaks below these dots, the buy is no longer valid anyways. Because if price goes below this, it broke a previous low, you're looking for sells. If price goes below this, I mean, it broke the low, you're looking for sells. So this would really tighten up your stop if you just put your stop loss kind of on this side of the buy sell lines or SuperEZ SR. That's how I would do it. I definitely don't put it by the arrow anymore because again, I've got months and months of data that show the accuracy level of here to here is marginally different. So it was like a 3%. It was on GBP pairs, it was almost 5%. On other pairs, it was less than 3 of a difference. And the amount of pips you're losing is huge compared to that, especially when this is size 5. So I put my stop loss there on every one of these trades if I had taken these buys. Does that help? Let's see. Thank you. AJ for the sell. Yeah, I like AJ for the sell. And somebody said look at NU, which we did, and we will look at this one more time. Chat. Awesome. You're welcome, Dorian. So we were just on this pair. So whoever's talking about NZD, USD, notice how we definitely are kind of gaining momentum up. The reason why I had said to wait on this, again, is the news. And we broke below. I like how we broke below the 50. We broke it with momentum. Definitely playing around here. But when we looked at it, I think it was this candle. We have buyer support here, and we have a ton of red folder news. So like on the 4-hour is where we were at. I'm just not playing with a lot of USD pairs. Does it look good for the sell? It does. It definitely looks good for the sell. Almost everything lines up. Not quite everything, but almost everything. So we have one 4-hour dot. If we waited till the next 4-hour dot and it was still saying sell, that's if you don't mind trading with all this red folder news for US dollar, plus Thursday's a holiday and Friday is non-farm payroll. That's way too much volatility in the US dollar for this week, at least for me. For me, I think there's other pairs we can find. So I was saying there's not enough space in between this buyer and this seller to make it worth the risk with all that news. It's just not enough space right here. So if you get this second dot and everything lines up, could you take it? Yes. But for me, I'm not taking it because of the news. There's just too much news. I don't play a lot with USD dollar pairs during NFP week. So I hope that answered your question. Next question, next pair.
Hey Jenny, it's Donna. I have a question.
Hey girl, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. It's been a little while since I've talked to you. What's your question?
I know it's been a little crazy, but I'm getting there. When you're looking at the 4-hour, and so what exactly are you? I know you're looking to see whether it's a buy or a sell. You're looking for the confirmations, but then when you go to the 1-hour, are you looking for most of the confirmations as well to take the entry? Is that what you're?
You can trade off of either, or you can trade off of both. Like, so I don't remember what pair we were just looking at, but it was lined up on the 1-hour, but not quite ready on the 4-hour. So pick a pair real quick.
Do NCD chef.
Okay, let's go into that one. Okay. So is this a pair you're looking at right now?
No, I was just picking a pair.
No problem. Okay,
Just
so
to
what do you see?
kind of get, okay. So I see the big arrow. I don't see triple arrows yet, but I see the daily and the 4-hour dots. I don't see the cross yet of the 5 and or no, the 8 and 18. Momentum is going up a little bit on the ADX, and then the sell line is starting to go up just a little bit, and the stochastic looks like it's moving a little bit. Is that the RSI right there?
Angela, your phone's ringing.
Sorry.
It's okay. Your name just pops up. You're totally fine. I don't mind. Okay, so the RSI is purple right here, and it's above the 50. So it's still not ready. So on the 4-hour, we're definitely not ready. I mean, I like how this kind of has this momentum candle is kind of rejecting. I mean, I would definitely want more confirmations than this if I was looking for a swing trade, but let's click to the 1-hour. So we definitely have some of the things kind of lining up here. Let's click to the 1-hour. Again, I would be a little bit less choosy this week going for other pairs because, again, I'm not playing with USD pairs. So having said that, we've got a railroad, which is a candle confirmation. That does count as one. Big arrow, triple arrows, kind of spread out, but they still count. 4 and daily. All these wicks I'm not too fond of. Again, more wicks. Not super fond of at all. That's why I was saying NCD was getting stronger today. That's what I was.
Yeah, that was a good example. It wasn't a good pair to look at.
Yes, I was saying that, and then of course somebody pulled up a pair where I was wrong, but technically NZD was getting stronger today in like the weirdest way. So like even on the 1-hour, this isn't lining up. So you can totally choose, but if it was me, I'd say it has to be in line with the 4-hour. I mean, so if you want all the confirmations from the 4-hour, you can do that. If you want like most of the confirmations on the 4 hour and all of them on the 1 hour, you can do that. But I mean, like this pair would not be ready. It just there's
Right, yeah.
uncertainty. Or again, we can go to our kind of tried and true method of let's take a look at what this is doing. In this case, it broke the trend. So that is good. If we draw a trend line, again, this is super easy, guys. This doesn't take any magic skill, but it did break it, even though my mouse wouldn't let me draw it any further. It did definitely break the trend line, which is good, but now we're in this kind of like breakout zone, as a lot of traders would call it. We're in this flat top, as Pat would call it. So this didn't like break out with momentum and then retest. This just kind of broke it, which is consolidation of some kind. We don't know if it's going to be consolidation to go up or consolidation to go down. But either way, we're consolidating. So we'd want something that said, hey, we're breaking these lows, which kind of happens to line up with the support and resistance, or we're breaking these highs here or here to know for sure what we're doing. And that's what we'd really want to see. Because we broke below the 50, but we didn't actually even close below the 50 at all. Like this didn't close below, this didn't, none of this closed below the 50. Well, I guess this technically did, these did, but not with any momentum, not with any power. So same concept, you can totally do it in whatever you need, but you have to create your rules that are going to stick to that. So like for your one account, maybe just trade the 4 hour. So ignore every other time frame. So what I've told a couple people recently is this. On the 4 hour. Go ahead.
No, I was thinking, that's what I was thinking the same in a way, because sometimes when I start looking, like this week I was trying to focus on, okay, just don't look at the 15. Look at the, don't look at the 30, just look at the 4 hour or the 1 hour and just like, but then even looking at the 1 hour and the 4 hour, sometimes, I think I know what I'm looking at for the, I think I do for the most part, but then sometimes I'll get confused. I'm like, okay, maybe I should just stick to one time frame.
I like it. Again, when I started this system, I was using the 1 hour a lot until I got taught enough lessons about going against the 4 hour. So if you're only going to use one time frame, especially for starters and knowing how much you're starting with, use the 4 hour. And look, your Eastern, well, your Central time. So you can check the channels at 4, 8, and 12, or what, so pick 2 of those times, because there's 6 opportunities a day. Pick 2 to 3 of them where you can kind of carve out 30 minutes just to check what it's doing and take any of these moves. So again, I can't guarantee what your schedule is like, but we can drag and drop 5 or 6 pairs on this chart and I can show you. So do you have time to trade at 8 a.m. your time? Usually?
This week I do, but usually I don't. I'm on the road.
Okay, so what about noon?
Yes, noon I do.
What about 4 p.m.?
I'm on the road.
8 p.m.
I'm home.
Okay, so you've got noon. Let's see, what is that? The noon candle is 2000 and the 8 p.m. is 400. So let's check it out.
Now, how do you know what do you, oh, you're looking down there.
Yep, that's correct.
That tells the time?
No, so this one, noon candle, check it out. That's the noon candle. And then this one is your 8 p.m. candle. Well, that can't be right. Yeah, it is. Okay. So you would be checking at these 2 times. And we'll draw it one more time. So this is your noon candle. Whoopsie, silly me. That's your news candle. This is your noon, sorry, and then your 8 p.m. candle. So if you check the charts at these 2 times a day and you created your schedule, only trading off of the 4 hour time frame, ignoring every single thing else, like no matter what, you stick to just this. And you drag and drop. In this case, you would have seen this and you don't have triple arrows yet. You don't have enough confirmation yet, but you put it on your watch list on your desk, right? In this case, you're still not liking it, so, but you like it in general, and that's put it on your watch list. By the time this comes up, okay, well, I guess there's more days in between here, huh? Whatever. There's definitely more days in here. So this is the next time that appears. 2000 and boom. This is how often you'd be checking. And that's the kind of the cool thing about the 4 hour candle. So you would put this on your watch list and you'd wait for enough confirmations. So on this candle that you checked, we broke the 50. Okay, so let's say you were just, you had the 8 and 18 cross. We had enough confirmations to take the trade. We're not fond of this, but we know we're with the trend, so we're not afraid of a little pullback, right? So we took this trade here. Okay, that's great. And then we held it, or we went for half of the average daily range or for the whole average daily range because you're using the 4-hour chart. As long as you're using at least a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio, you took it on this candle. You put your stop loss here below the previous support and resistance. Okay. You would do the same thing here. So you would see these dots, you know it's in the same direction as the 4-hour. If everything is still telling you to buy, again, you would buy it, okay, for your next set of pips. I think this is one of the ones you would have had too. Just to give you an idea. That's your 8 o'clock candle. I can't see now because they're too close together. There you go, 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock and 20 o'clock. All you'd be doing is looking for 2 dots because remember the first one could disappear. Second one gets a lot more stable. So I usually take it on the beginning of this candle, not the end, the beginning. Okay. So, and if everything lines up, it's in the same direction as the three arrows. Okay, it's above the 50. Okay. I'm looking for buys. You have 2 dots, take it. And you can do this over and over again on any pair. And I promise you, you will find enough moves. You will guaranteeingly find enough moves to go for 50 pips, to go for, okay, if on one of these trades your stop loss has to be too big and you don't like it, you'd either put it like at your next support, like this would be your next support, right? You could totally put your stop loss there. You could put it here. But you'd never want to take a trade with a greater than a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio.
Okay, got it. So like when I take, so if I were to take checking it say at noon and then I took that first trade and I took it for say half the ADR and did say 25 pips. And then check it again at, what time did I say, 4? No, 4 I'm on the road. So I won't be able to check it again until 8.
Yep.
And so if it didn't take profit, then just let it keep going until it takes profit before I take the next trade.
So like it depends on how much are you risking or how much are you going for per trade according to your compounding sheet.
Okay, yeah, it's all going to depend on that because I would have to start with that. So I think it's like starting at like a 0.08 first or something like that.
Well, it depends on which method you're using. So like if you're using the per trade method and you're going for, let's say 20%, 10%, 15% per trade,
15.
And you're using a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio, then essentially like you could probably be in, and you're using a 500-to-1 leverage.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so on that account with the 500-to-1 leverage, you can probably be in 3 trades at a time. So you can pick 3 different pairs if it's lining up. If not, you're holding it. If it hits your stop loss, you're out. If you come back and you haven't hit take profit, you always move your stop loss into profit. Always protect the bag or have a trailing stop on there. And that's it. That's it.
Okay. And how do you say, I know when you say 1-to-1 risk ratio, reward to risk ratio, how do you, I guess, look at that? How do you know when what's the calculation for that ratio?
Okay, so for that, essentially, if you're going for 30 pips, you're never risking more than 30 pips. If you're going for 50 pips, you're never risking for more than 50 pips, ever. So like on this one, for example, you had a lot of opportunities that you actively checked the chart that you would have been able to get in, right? And you would just have been waiting for enough things to line up, depending on where you got in. So if you took this trade, this is kind of a perfect setup. But either way, you took this trade, you took it for half of the average daily range, or you had a runner open and you just stayed in there until you got contradicting dots, or you wanted to hold it for the entire 4-hour move. Totally up to you on which strategy you want to use. But provided you had enough confirmations, you would want your stop loss here. So if some of these moves, the stop loss is just too big, you're going to skip that trade. That is no longer a good trade. So like if your stop loss has to be 100 pips and you're only going for 60, that's not good risk management. That's bad business.
Gotcha.
Right? So you never want your stop
So
loss.
never,
Yeah.
never have your stop loss bigger than your take profit.
Yep. In a perfect
Okay.
world.
And just so then if it,
Go ahead.
and right. So basically, yeah. And if it's too much, so say that if it was like you were only taking 25 pips, but your stop loss was like 40 pips. That's still not a good trade.
That's really not a great trade. You either need to find a better place to put your stop loss or a tighter entry, because you're risking more than you're gaining, and we don't want to do that ever in life. Like we want to be coming out, we want a better chance of coming out of break even or better. Like that's our bare minimum. We need to have our bare minimum kind of standards here, and that needs to be like anything else in life. We're going to break even or be better, but we're definitely not going to be like at a loss. Because if you took 3 trades and you had a 60 some odd % accuracy, 1-to-1 ratio, at the end of the month, you will be profitable, even with a really bad accuracy. But if you took 3 trades per week at a 1-to-3 ratio, and you had an 80% accuracy, you still could be at a loss at the end of the month because your losses outweigh your wins.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I've been kind of up and down, and I think that's my problem. Is my stop losses are too high. I mean, I've had some wins, but I've had more losses than wins, and then I can't. I think that's probably why, one of the reasons why.
Well, so imagine this: like if you have something next to your desk, right, and you have, let's say you have 10 or 12 pairs you're looking at for the week, or that you had noticed and that you want to keep an eye on for the next few days. When you're looking at these, you're taking a look at stuff like this. So this one has a ton of news. That makes this trade not a good trade to take. Well, granted, this was last week, but either way, this would be right next to it in news, okay? And then let's say we went back and let's pretend this pair didn't have news. And this still looks like a pretty good trade. We've got 8 and 18, a lot of momentum coming in. Again, this is the 4 hour, so that's very powerful. This crossover on the 4 hour is super powerful. You don't even necessarily have to wait till the break of the 50, because even that is usually half of the average daily range by itself, right? So either way, we've got enough confirmations to take the fast entry or the slower entry. But now when we go to write this out on our little watch list, if we take the fast entry, our stop loss is reasonable. It's like 30-ish pips, give or take. If we take the slower entry, because this is where we ended up seeing it, it would probably end up seeing it here, because again, with the beginning of this candle is when we're looking. And we're knowing it's getting ready to break the resistance, get ready to break the 50. Either way, your stop loss is now 50 pips. So you want to know, am I going for 50 pips on this? Or at least, the average daily range is 60 something. So I want my take profit to be slightly above or equal to. And if it's not, on that little watch list right there, you would say stop loss too high. And then you would know, or put R&R, risk to reward is negative. Anything less than a 1-to-1 ratio is a negative risk to reward.
Okay.
So your assets,
you
have negative.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I need to then just work on my entries. Okay, that was helpful. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
I have one more question.
Yes,
so using, and I know you said like using any strategy. So say I'm working on the 4 hour chart. So, but on the flip-flop method, you said it's better to use that on the lower time frame. So would I just look on like the 15-minute chart?
Okay, so the flip-flop is like super accurate. It's still like anything else is going to work best in the direction of the trend. Because you're using Coinex or Hugo's Way?
Hugo's Way.
Okay, so Hugo's Way has a slightly different spread. So this would be considered, let's go to the 15-minute chart. One of the gentlemen in the group, I'd have to double check my Telegram if I could possibly even have a small chance at finding it. He had sent a time frame, I don't know what you call it, but it's like a time frame indicator, which will let you put the 50 on the 1 hour on this chart, et cetera, like the actual 50.
Yeah.
See? So right now we're on the 50. Now imagine on the 15. If this is below the 50 on the 1 hour, or if this is in the same direction as Irving would say on the 4 hour, that makes it a much more safe trade. Because you're still only going for a very small amount of pips. You have your faster entry.
Right.
And again, not picking a different pair, not looking for perfection, just going off of physically what's right here. Everybody and their mama knows that Euro odd has been going down for like a long time. We know that in conversation. A lot of people tried to scalp this up. So we have our faster entry. On our faster entry, we definitely got our 10 pips. If you had the perfect entry, let's see, of when it just barely broke the 50, you still would have barely but got your 10 pips. Again, because this strategy, you're always moving your stop loss into profit. Always, always, always. So you would get it, even though this is against the trend. But it's harder to get it. It's much, much harder to get it. So like going with the trend is always in your favor. Always, always in your favor. So this happened, fast entry, slower entry, right? But then we have another, let's go here. We had a pullback on the ADX. Let's see. And then we have another crossover on the ADX, crossover here. Hold on real quick. It's my mama. Hey mama, I'm on the call. Can I call you back? Okay. Sorry. She was gonna keep calling, so there was no way that she was.
I understand.
She's super loving. She's just gonna miss me, so the whole family's like super uptight right now. But either way, but you see what I'm saying? So you have a lot of different choices here in terms of how to use this strategy, and it's just a matter of teaching your eyes to see it. When you're going in the direction, I believe I have these set to 1 hour for this strategy. Let's double check it publicly. Nope, it's still on 4. On any fast movers, I set it to 1 hour. But you want it to be in the same direction as this, which again almost guarantees your win. Nothing is guaranteed, but it's so easy. So you have these dots saying it's buying. Again, that doesn't have to last forever. You have a crossover. Okay, and I can teach you to set alerts for that. 50, and you took it. You have these don't appear till over here. Either way, you get your crossover right around the same time that happens. Your faster entry, you can get your first 10 pips. Breaks the 50, you can get another 10 pips. 20 pips a day, you can compound an account to literally high 6 figures in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, I've been kind of playing with it a little bit. I kind of like I've been playing, like for me, I noticed that I like the 8 and the 18 as opposed to the even the money string. My eyes see that better because the crossover.
Okay, great. Well, I
like
like
even on the other strategy.
And keep that even on your 4 hour chart. Keep it on your 4 hour chart, and that's okay. But what Irving's saying is like you can totally do this in the same direction too. You just have to know that. I would talk to the guy. I'm pretty sure it was James. I don't want to misquote and then be wrong, but get your 50 on here. Or you have the option of again drawing a trend line. If this is trending down, only take the signals that say down. If this is trending up, then only take the signals that say up. Like, trading is way simple if you just create the rules that you can follow. I'm trying to go back to the 15. If it will let me in the time.
Well, like on my chart, I have on my flip-flop chart that I have, I actually put the triple arrows on there just to, along with the parabolic SARs and everything else that you have, just so I can also just another confirmation for the trend. So I'll go with the trend as well.
Okay, cool. And that works like
So
right
then,
here. I take this as a sell because it broke this support. See?
Yeah.
Are you looking for confirmation on the 1 hour or the 4 hour?
For the most part, I want to be going with the trend. So this one doesn't show me what the trend is very well, but we know it's, if I zoom out pretty far, what is this market doing? No indicators, what is this market doing? Only on the 15.
Going down.
Sell. So when not to say you can't make money, you definitely can make money, but you have to be so precise. You have to have great management. So like any of these buys, ready? Any of these buys, you have the 8 and 18 crossover, get your 10 pips. Let's just go to 12 to cover spread. You got it, super easy. 8 and 18 crossover, and this is against the trend. Had enough confirmations, okay? You got this one, you may or may not have got it, but that's the whole point. On this strategy, you always move your stop into profit. So in theory, if you had good management, this would have closed in profit. I'm only counting the ones against the trend. Well, obviously the ones with the trend, they all won, right? That's a no-brainer. But the question is, for people who don't know the difference in what the trend is, that's when the real problem comes up. So this one doesn't really say, well, let's see, it says buy back here on the ADX, across the 50, but didn't really get a clear crossover of the 8 and 18. You maybe, depending on your broker, you even would have closed this one in profit with a 10 pip take profit. But either way, you always move your stop into profit when you're up. When you're up 4 pips, move your stop up 1 pip. When you're up 8 pips, move your stop up 2 or 3 pips. Because this is a scalping strategy. So even these counter trend trades, in theory, you would have won most of them. But if you want the highest accuracy, you can zoom out and see that this is going down. So you're not taking any trades. So even if you're getting a crossover and a perfect alert for it to buy, you don't take it until you have a clear trend of buying. And this pair isn't buying. Not to say you couldn't have won a lot of them, because you could have won a lot of them. You could have won this buy, and probably this buy. This was a crazy news wick. You would have won this buy. With good management, you would have won even the counter trend trades.
Okay.
Even them. But your safest moves are always with the trend. Because then you don't have to worry about being right or wrong. For the most part, think about it this way. When you're trend trading, you have a chance of getting like 2 wrong. When the trend changes, right? So this one right here, because you'd be still looking for buys because this is going up, and it would have turned into a sell, right? And this one right here, like let's say this was turning around, you'd be looking for sells, but the trend changes, it turns into a buy. Every other pair you took anywhere in this, so this is from June 24th to July 3rd, right, on the markets. So 2 or 3 weeks worth of scalping, 1 pair only. This probably has no less than 30, 40 opportunities to scalp. Let's say 15 of them you actually saw. Of the 15 trades you took when you're actually trading with the trend, only 2 of them would be losses. Like at all would be losses. Everything else would win. Every single other trade you took would win. Every one of them. Except for the one at the beginning of the trend and the one at the end of the trend. But when you're trading against the trend, you have a much more higher chance at maybe having a 70% accuracy ratio.
Okay.
Or just at least when you're trading against the trend, wait for these kind of dots. Because when this happened, you definitely have enough momentum to go up. When this happened, you definitely have enough momentum to go up. But these little moves right here trying to go up, I know this is super zoomed out, but it's zoomed out on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have any buy-sell lines, the support and easy. This is a lot harder to get those 10 pips. So like create a rule that says if you're going against the trend, then you have to have the buy-sell lines. If you're going against the trend, you have to have the buy-sell lines. If you're going with the trend, and for this, the trend is down, for the most part, we're staying below the 50, right? It's a down trend. Then you don't have to have them.
Mm-hmm.
You just need a crossover. That's it. So tighter rules for against the trend, looser rules for with the trend.
Okay. Okay.
What time?
Now,
You looking at both time frames, the 1 hour and the 4 hour?
So for this strategy, Irving does look at the 4 hour as well. I kind of keep it super simple. I just want it to be in the same direction as the trend on the 1 hour. So if it's below the 50 on the 1 hour, I consider that to be a down sell, a down trend. If it's above the 50 on the 1 hour, I consider that to be an uptrend. And if it's kind of bouncing around the 50 on the 1 hour, I consider that consolidation and I stay out.
And then when you see it trending on the 1 hour, you'll go to the 15-minute for your possible entry.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, this is for the flip-flop method. This is just for scalping. For scalping, like I can find anywhere from 3 to 5 trades a day most days of the week.
Say that again.
For scalping, I can find anywhere from 3 to 5 trades most days of the week.
Okay.
But that's just using the 15-minute chart, the flip-flop method. Again, going with the trend, your accuracy will be insanely high. Going against the trend, you want to add a few other pieces of confirmation. I don't care what you add personally, but you want to, like, for instance, take the stochastic, you would need a clean crossover, or take like the buy-sell lines. You need some other confirmation to say, hey, this is a go.
Yes.
Julissa, for the swing trading, I just look at the one time frame, or sometimes I'll check the 1 hour too. But for actual swing trading in the Stairmaster, I'm only looking at the 4 hour, and then I'll maybe enter on the 1 hour. But even lately, because the markets have just kind of been crazy, I've only been looking at the 4 hour a lot. So you know. Austin.
Hello, I'm sorry.
Hey, no, hey, Liqua, how's it going? Go ahead.
All right. Is it a certain pairs that you use a flip flop with? I forgot.
Don't be
Or
trading.
it's like what's the best pairs for the flip flop? Is it all you said? Is it USD or does it matter?
You just don't want to trade pairs that have like a 40 average daily range. That's too low. You want something that has some volume, because any pair that has, like, I prefer it to have above 60, but it's summertime. A lot of them have 50-ish. So there's kind of not a lot of avoiding that, but you definitely want to trade the slower moving pairs. I like GBP pairs personally. I like Euro NZD, Euro AUD, Euro CAD. Those all have, 70 plus. I think even Euro JPY has 71, I think.
Okay.
But you just want it to have enough volume. Because if this is only 40, trying to catch a whole 10 pips is harder. But if this moves 80 pips in a day, trying to catch 10 of them twice is easy.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
You are welcome. Let's see.
Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. Thank you. It's hard to be up here talking to myself, you guys. Dorian, when you mentioned the 4 hour, because the market is choppy, are you still entering in on the 1 hour? So for like the Stairmaster, I'm only looking at the 4 hour. I don't kind of bog my mind down with anything else. When I'm looking for like triple arrow moves and I'm just going for half of the average daily range, I look for directional confirmation on the 4 hour, and I don't mind if it has all the confirmations on the 1 hour. I will check the 1 hour. Thank you, Barbara. Hey, I saw you got your book. That's exciting. I know I didn't
Yeah, it took a long time for me to get it, but I finally got it.
That's awesome. Hey, Amazon has their Prime Day coming up. I forget what day it is, but they have their Prime Day coming up. So that means anybody who doesn't have Amazon Prime, you guys can ship anything you want for free on that day.
Hey, John.
Hey, Dorian.
Hi. What I wanted to...
Ooh, I can't hear you. Can you talk into the microphone?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, I wanted to know, are you entering on the 1 hour? You're using the 4 hour, right, to monitor the trade?
No, I'm using the 4 hour. Like for Stairmaster, I'm only using the 4 hour. I'm not even looking at the 1 hour.
But as far as entering the trade, are you dropping down to the 1 hour, or are you entering it on the 4 hour?
Nope, I'm just using the 4 hour.
Okay.
So for like triple arrows, which, like I said, guys, I haven't been doing a lot of the swing trading because it's summer. I've been doing a lot of Stairmaster trades. I'll take it for 50 pips, or it might be the average daily range. But I haven't done a whole bunch of swing trading. I am playing with a daily trade strategy right now. No, I don't love it enough to talk about it because it's just inconsistent still. It's in the baby phases. But so for my Stairmaster, I'm only looking at the 4 hour. I'm not looking at anything else. Although for like typical swing trading, I want confirmation on the 4 hour, and I'll drop down to the 1 hour for entry. But the more time frames you guys look at, the more confused your mind is going to be.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm confused. I'm confused as to why.
There are literally some people who they only trade off the 30-minute. That's not my cup of tea. I don't like it. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I know that this system I did use only on the 1 hour for a little while, but I didn't like the results, to be transparent. So for this system, because of the nature of it, again, this is a counter trend or a trend reversal system. So knowing that, I want to trade it on the 4 hour above, because that's the only kind of move that's going to be measurable anyways. And let's assume that the big arrow was here. Even if it was here, I had enough pips and got out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I took the faster entry, okay, I definitely got half of my average daily range. If I took the slower entry, I definitely got half of my average daily range. Well, the average candle's up here. So it doesn't matter which entry I took. Like on the 4 hour, it's super safe. And even for the Stairmaster, which I'm like super in love with the Stairmaster in general. I just think it's really accurate. Because essentially you're trading with a trend, you're just trading pullbacks, which is the best possible way to trade. Barry, that's awesome.
Okay, thank you, John.
You are welcome. All right, guys, well, I've been on here almost 2 hours. Are there any other questions, comments, pairs? Please stay away from US trades this week unless you are a very, very skilled trader, or at least you have phenomenal money management, because any one of these news and or a holiday could send the market into an uproar and you don't even have any idea what's coming. So please, please, please trade wisely. Too much going on with the US dollar. Please, let's see. Barry, yeah, that Stairmaster. I've got 2 clients who have 100% accuracy using the Stairmaster with the way I just taught it on this call. Right here, same exact method that I just taught on this call. They have 100% accuracy. And that's like not at week 1 or 2. They're at one's at week 4, and I think one's at week 5. Or no, I think they're on week 5 on their compound sheet. They're doing the weekly one, but they're actually like only on so many trading days or something. But either way, 100% accuracy. Because you're not staying in the trade forever. You're not holding it all the time. Is there a video that shows us how to get the ADR? Will, the ADR is called the bar alert. It's in the SuperEZ notification channel. It's also in the SuperEZ group. Please go in there and find it. Only because when we keep reposting them, some weird versions get posted, and then all of a sudden everyone has these weird versions and they don't know what to do with them, and they didn't work. So yeah, 80%, that's awesome. Way to go. At 80%, you should literally be a 6-7 figure income earner in like a month, 2 months, if you're compounding it.
Jenny, will there be a training tomorrow?
Yes, there will be a training tomorrow. Yes, I'm sure you guys want to. Most of us are addicted to charts, so yeah, I think we're gonna jump on. I mean, may as well. We're not gonna look at anything US dollar, guys, because it's just not worth it. Definitely not worth it. Let's take a look at AJ real quick before we jump off. Actually, let's find out what it's doing. And there we go again. It's still pulling back. I don't like that wick at all. That's 1 hour chart. Let's see. I don't know what day the Amazon Prime Day is, but it's someday. You'll have to go on Amazon, find out. I built a brand and then I sold it on Amazon. Big mess, big money, big
It's
work.
the 15th and the 16th.
Look at you looked it up. Good job. Yeah. I just know I had to quadruple my inventory for it. That's how I found out about it, because I, of course, pay for a Prime membership. So anyways, this still looks good, guys. I still like this trade. I don't like that doji that's appearing, but I definitely still like this trade. I'd have my stop loss kind of above this high. So you see these fractals are this high. This is safe for me. I like it. I mean, it gives a little bit room for it to come play with the average daily range. But, I mean, that's kind of too big for some people, so you could even move it to, how many pips does that save? It says 6.5 versus 7.5, so it's a 10 pip difference. Your call. That's where I'd put my stop loss. So, but yes, I do. All right, guys, well, we are going to hop off. Come tomorrow night with a pen and paper and lots of questions, and I hope you guys all enjoy your day. Thank you for coming on, and we will talk soon. Thank you, Randy.
Thanks. Have a good night.
You are too. Thank you. Have a good night, guys. Sweet dreams.
Thank you, Jenny.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good night, guys.
You.
Night.